Wembley Stadium hits over 40,000. Big business for AEW. We also have Dynamite, the draft, which was mostly bullshit. And then pretty much anything else I want to talk about for today. The time for the next episode? I think so. Let's go, time. I also gotta find out who got drafted where. Okay. They have it actually up on WWE.com. Alright, let's get it. Hello. How we doing? Smells Like Wrasslin, episode 60. What are we at? 62? This is 62, right? I don't even remember what I shared to people. It is 62. Awesome. Okay. Hello. Episode 62. Smells Like Wrasslin. Your host, Eric, here. Talking to you about the week in wrestling and wrestling news and some show results. Lots of stuff went down past week. We had the draft. We had the pre-sale for All In at Wembley Stadium in London with AEW, which, if you follow the business, it was something definitely, something you want to keep your eye on. Josh, shut up. Shut your mouth. So let's go over the draft. Let's talk about Wembley. Let's talk about Naomi showing up at Impact. Mox going to be at the New Japan Dominion show, which should be interesting. But yeah. So let's start with the draft. Monday Night Raw was. Hold on. Is this like in reverse order? This night one. SmackDown Lowdown. Okay, night one. All right. So, the draft. As of night one, SmackDown drafts Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and Paul Heyman. No Usos. Okay? Raw drafts Cody Rhodes. SmackDown drafts Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair. Raw drafts Becky Lynch. That was round one. Round two, SmackDown grabs Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, the Street Profits. And Raw grabs the Intercontinental Champion Gunther, Ludwig Kaiser, and Giovanni Vinci Imperium. So Raw has the IC champ. SmackDown gets Edge. Raw gets Matt Riddle. Round three, SmackDown gets Bobby Lashley. Raw gets Drew McIntyre. SmackDown gets a returning AJ Styles, Michin, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson. Basically, the entire OC gets drafted to SmackDown. Raw gets The Miz. Round four, SmackDown gets Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky. Damage Control. Raw gets Shinsuke Nakamura. SmackDown gets the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. What? Why? I don't get it. And then Raw grabs NXT Women's Champion Indy Hartwell, who's injured. So, I don't know. On the SmackDown... Oh, yeah. Really? What day was that? That was this past Monday, right? 4/28? No, there's got to be more than that, right? Today's Wednesday. Am I missing something? I am missing stuff. Am I? That was okay. That was all on the 28th. That was night one. All right. So the way they have this on the website is freaking stupid. But night two, Raw drafts the SmackDown Women's Champion Rhea Ripley. SmackDown drafts United States Champion Austin Theory. Raw gets Seth Rollins. SmackDown gets Charlotte Flair. Brock Lesnar is announced as a free agent by Triple H, which is fucking stupid because it's like, it's Brock Lesnar. You mean to tell me that neither Raw nor SmackDown wants him? Get the fuck out of here. Round two, Raw drafts the undisputed tag team champions Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. SmackDown signs the Usos. So the Usos and the rest of the bloodline, they're all on SmackDown, but they got drafted separately. I don't know. Raw, the entire Judgment Day gets drafted, so Finn Balor, Damian Priest, and Dominic Mysterio. SmackDown gets Rey Mysterio. So SmackDown gets the Latino World Order, which is Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar, Cruz del Toro, Joaquin Wilde, and Zelina Vega. Yeah. So, what else is there? Round three, Raw grabs the women's tag team champions Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. SmackDown gets Asuka. Raw gets Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, the New Day. They don't mention Big E. SmackDown gets the Brawling Brutes, which is Sheamus, Butch, Ridge Holland. Round four, Raw gets Trish Stratus. SmackDown gets Karrion Kross and Scarlett. Raw gets Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. SmackDown gets LA Knight. Round five was Raw gets Braun Strowman and Ricochet. SmackDown gets Shotzi. Raw gets Bronson Reed. SmackDown gets Pretty Deadly, which consists of Elton Prince and Kit Wilson. Round six, Raw gets the Alpha Academy, Otis and Chad Gable. SmackDown gets Rick Boogs. Raw gets Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. SmackDown gets Cameron Grimes. And then on Raw Talk, they had a whole bunch of other people get tossed in there. So Akira Tozawa, Angel and Umberto, Dana Brooke, Emma, Indus Sher, Johnny Gargano, Nikki Cross, Odyssey Jones, Piper Niven, Riddick Moss, Tegan Knox, and Xia Li all get drafted to Raw. SmackDown gets Grayson Waller and Tamina. Free agents are Baron Corbin, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, Elias, and Zion Quinn. And that is how it stands as of right now. Now listen, time will tell whether or not this draft is even worth a damn. Because if they just toss people back and forth between shows, like, to be honest, like, nothing's changed. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping for like a strict brand split, maybe 1 to 2 major storyline acts carry over. But aside from that, like, it's just nice to see different storylines and different belts, and you kind of know the cast of characters in each show. You know, like, if Raw and SmackDown are television shows, it's kind of difficult when it's kind of the same show, but kind of not, and kind of the same storylines, but not really. You're going to see more storylines featured on one show than the other. I just feel like it makes for very confusing television. Like, you're not really sure which one to watch. You just kind of have to figure out what acts traditionally land in which shows. Which I guess you could say that's what the draft is. But then, like, it just defeats the purpose of the draft. Just make one big roster and that's it. Like, stop, like, pussyfooting around and making stupid shit like a draft. You know? So, I just feel like it needs to just stay concrete. Now, the whole thing with the belts, with Cody getting this new belt, I don't know, like, I just feel like, why didn't they just split Roman's titles? You know what I mean? Like, why does he have to hold both? I don't understand why that's so important. But it is like, I just feel like the storytelling after WrestleMania just fucking took a nosedive. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care as much anymore because it's just like, what the fuck? Like, the whole main titles, like, it's like the Bloodline storyline didn't have any end and it didn't have any continuation. Like, Cody is immediately fighting Brock. Roman's doing nothing. the Usos are kind of on the outs, but kind of not, and Solo's still in with the wise man Paul Heyman. Um, the Usos are still trying to chase after the tag belts, but they've already lost to Sammy and Kevin now twice because they had that tag team title rematch on Monday. So it's like, where is this going? What are what are we gonna do next? Storylines that stall out, like, that's annoying. That's like anime shit when they just put filler for like 30 fucking episodes. I'm in the middle of trying to, like, I started like rewatching Naruto before someone fucking cuts my head off, and like, I'm like, god damn, like, there's so many episodes that just are fucking nothing. Like, I just want to see I just want to see the main shit. And I feel like that's what's happening now with, like, the Bloodline storyline. It's in filler mode right now. They're not really doing anything. They're just treading water, you know? Brock just decides to just beat Cody to death because he didn't like that he wasn't slated in the main event. It's just stupid shit, man. So I don't know. With WWE right now, it's just, I really just hope it gets back on track. Will I be watching WrestleMania Backlash? Yes, I will, because I want to see if the culmination of any of these storylines that they've been working on since WrestleMania have like a solid, like, any solid payoffs. You know what I mean? Like, right now, WWE is like regular season baseball. It's just like, I'm more of like a postseason guy. And unless it's like a big matchup or like a division rival in like a points race or whatever, like, you know, it's filler. It's filler. And like right now, it's just like, that's what's going on right now. It's just fucking filler. AEW began their pre-sale of tickets for All Out Wembley Stadium in London. So far, pretty good. I mean, they have over 40,000 as of right now. They've made over $5 million on the gate. So right now, this is the largest AEW event ever. The highest grossing AEW event ever. In terms of the UK and London, it's one of the biggest drawing pro wrestling events of all time. I don't know if it is or it's just amongst the top. I'm not sure, but the numbers are good enough that it could be in that upper echelon, if not the best. This is a gigantic win for AEW. It's a gigantic win for pro wrestling. It shows that another company outside of AEW, outside the North American market, could draw big numbers. I think it shows the untapped market. I guess not untapped market, but a starving market for pro wrestling in Europe and the UK. There's only now two real major wrestling brands. Everything else you're catching online, pretty much, like Impact, Ring of Honor, New Japan, CMLL, PWG, GCW, all that you're getting online. So in terms of stuff that actually has television deals, it's AEW and WWE primarily. Obviously we all know that WWE has been the big dog, the standard bearer for pro wrestling, the actual epitome. Like, when people think pro wrestling, they think WWE. Like, they are an institution. You know what I mean? They've made some of the biggest names and stars in both Hollywood and in pro wrestling. So, they were really the only ones. But to be honest, they don't travel there often. They do most of their touring in their major markets, which is in North America. So they across the 50 states. And every once in a while they'll do a tour, they'll do a Raw or they'll do a SmackDown, but it'll be in an arena. They're probably going to do maybe 10 to 20, maybe around like 10,000, maybe a little bit more, a traditional arena. But they're not doing stadiums. I mean, the closest thing to that was Clash at the Castle. I think they did over 60,000. So that's but I mean, they even remarked how long it's been since they did anything like Clash at the Castle. So it's proof that now, until now, it's only been proof that if you're WWE and you want to put on a big show, you could pull the numbers in the UK. Now it's pro wrestling shows could draw big numbers in the UK as long as they're well promoted and well booked. Now, right now, the card for All In is a mystery. Nobody knows. If it were me, and I've said this on the podcast before, I'd stack it with the greatest card in the history of pro wrestling. The greatest card that you could do outside of WWE is the card that they should put out. I mean, right now, like any of your dream matches, that's what you got to do. Honestly, you want to know why? Because if as you start booking this card and as you start promoting it, you can start like they if now we start getting into a little bit of like competition and whatnot. But if they want to make like, let's say their goal is we want to be WWE, obviously one would assume that the amount of tickets being sold is going to increase based on the card. And as the card begins to shape and the interest around it grows based on who they have being booked to wrestle at the show, it's very possible that they could meet the Clash at the Castle numbers of around 60K. Now, Wembley Stadium is set for 90,000. Do I think they're going to hit 90,000? To be honest, it depends on the card. Honestly, it depends on the card. If you're going to do like, Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, FTR versus the Bucks, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bryan Danielson. You do like big time matches. You have a big time trios. You know who I would do? I would do House of Black versus the Lucha Brothers and El Hijo de Vikingo as a trios match. I would have a New Japan title match. Probably have Okada on the show. Maybe you do like an Okada versus Tanahashi or Okada versus Naito or something like that. You put on every possible big time match that you possibly can. You know what I mean? You get MJF, you get CM. If CM Punk's around, you get CM Punk on the show. Maybe have him fight MJF for the title. I don't know how you want to shoehorn, CM Punk into a title match. You could just be like, hey, listen, I never lost the title, and fuck you, I'm coming for you, right? Did they relinquish Punk of the title because he was injured? And then Mox won it in a tournament. Am I correct on that? I can't even remember how they got rid of... Because Punk was the champ at the end of All In, and then all that shit happened. So I think he got stripped of the title. Yeah, okay. So, like Punk could come back and say, hey, I'm fighting for the title I never lost. Fuck you, MJF. You're a dirtbag. Or we got a score to settle. You've never beaten me clean. Blah, blah, blah. So, that's what I would do. I don't know what other big matches any of y'all could think of, but that's 100% what I would do. 100%. Dark and Dark Elevation are done for now. There's a new exclusivity deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. So, and I think it's a good idea. I think right now, the only shows that AEW needs is Dynamite and Collision. Rampage, they honestly don't really need. I'm kind of hoping that Rampage just becomes Ring of Honor, Ring of Honor. Just make that the Ring of Honor show. That's what, and it shouldn't matter if it's taped or not. If people want to see Ring of Honor, and instead of having to go online, they could watch it or DVR it on Friday nights at 10 o'clock. I think that that's fine. I think if you could book good matches and shit and do really good stuff on Ring of Honor, there's no reason why it can't have like a good following at that 10 o'clock time slot. I'm not expecting for like large ratings because it's very hard to draw large ratings at that Friday night, 10 o'clock death slot, so I don't expect anything to draw great ratings, but I'm hoping that AEW could do like a Ring of Honor themed show could do better ratings just because it's a little bit more focused. It should have its own separate roster with its own separate storylines and shit like that. It should have its own feel. It should feel a little bit different than AEW. It shouldn't be AEW dark, light. They should, what I liked about NXT was that even though it was kind of shot a little bit like Raw and SmackDown, because the Full Sail was just a different place, structurally, you got different camera angles, and the crowd was darkened. You only really saw the wrestlers. Like, I feel like it just had a different kind of feel. And I feel like you need to change up the production of Ring of Honor to really differentiate it from Collision and from Dynamite. So that's what I'm hoping. Um, like I said, like, I'm very like, I've been saying this on the podcast for forever. AEW needs more television time. Them having 4 to 5 hours of television time is a great thing. I think if they could better utilize Rampage and then have solid booking on Collision and solid booking on Dynamite, this is great for that, in my opinion, slightly overinflated roster. And I think a lot of people who were very excited about a lot of signings that came in, guys like Keith Lee and shit like that, guys who were really excited for, but we're not seeing a lot of television time for, I believe this is the remedy to that problem. I think this is the solution. So, fingers crossed. There's all this speculation now about June and CM Punk and Collision being his show, and it's really going to be centered around like CM Punk and FTR and whomever else. I mean, listen, until it happens, we don't really know. Everything's speculation. I mean, it's not like Warner Brothers Discovery is like putting out a press release saying, hey, these are the guys we want centered on this show. And to be quite honest, it's just easier to book because no one gets along. Until there's something concrete from AEW or Warner Brothers Discovery, it's all fucking speculation, people. We have to wait until the program comes out and see how it's booked and give it a couple of weeks or a couple of months or maybe even at least a year to see how the show gets on traction and gets on its footing. I mean, Dynamite was good, had a bunch of banger shows, and then it kind of faltered. December, I think of like 2019. And then as it rolled into 2020 and like right before COVID, with the awesome Revolution pay-per-view, and they were really starting to gain momentum, then they got hit with COVID and the pandemic and everything. So it took time for Dynamite and to really like pick up steam. It wasn't until like things started opening up with the pandemic that they added Rampage. So it's a lot of there's a lot of moving parts. You do have to give it time, see how the booking's going. I am still very like cautiously optimistic because this still doesn't change the fact that one guy's booking everything. Tony's booking Rampage, Collision, Dynamite, Ring of Honor. Like, that's a lot for one person. And it's like, I don't think that, and I feel like this roster deserves each of the storylines. If you're going to put them on television, if I should care about them as a fan, they all need a personal touch. And someone who's juggling like X amount of storylines along with the other jobs that he's working, like, I don't see how he does it. Because, like, I mean, it's passable now, but you could tell that, like, a lot of the stronger storylines were within the first, like, 2 to 3 years of AEW. Then all of a sudden, like, things just start to get a little bit hairy. Titles started not to have as much meaning anymore. Like, everyone was remember there was this whole thing, wins and losses matter, titles are going to matter, title matches are going to matter. But then all of a sudden you were getting, like, Dante Martin having impromptu title matches with like Hangman Adam Page. It was just weird. So my worry still is it's still one guy booking the entire shebang, but them having extra television hours, that is good. That is a good thing. Let's talk about Dynamite. Tonight's main event was the Four Pillars tag match, MJF and Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin and Jack Perry. What else? So here we go. So Taz, Excalibur, Tony Schiavone, welcome everyone onto the air. Orange Cassidy and Bandito make their entrance. They have matching sunglasses, which is kind of cool. Roderick Strong makes his AEW in-ring debut, followed by Adam Cole. The match was Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Bandito, and AEW International Champion Orange Cassidy facing and defeating Daniel Garcia, Jake Hager, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker of the Jericho Appreciation Society. I thought this was an exciting match. I thought this was a good showcase for Roderick Strong. He's just one of those really fast moving, really good cardio, high impact technical wrestlers. He's one of those guys who you would love to want to see wrestle against like a Bryan Danielson or John Moxley or fucking Kenny Omega. You know, there's so many people that Roderick Strong could have amazing, incredible matches with. And now that he's in AEW, the amount of talent that he has access to, they could really book some incredible matches for him if they wanted. Right now, I guess they're kind of introducing him, bringing him alongside with Cole, which is good. You know, Cole's one of the main stars in AEW, so it's good to get some of that spotlight on Roddy. He's definitely well deserving of it. The next segment after the win. Oh, after the match, Cole makes a beeline for Jericho. Jericho was a guest commentator during the match and beats the shit out of him. Security comes in, separates Cole. Jericho's screaming. They do another. Anywho, so let's just go in order. Renee Paquette is backstage with Jack Perry and Darby Allin. They're talking about the main event tag team match. They're talking about the implications being that obviously if they win the title match at Double or Nothing becomes a fatal four-way. Jack Perry says he and Darby may not like each other, but they busted their asses to get to this point. Darby says he doesn't care how they get there, but they will get to their first AEW pay-per-view main event, which is true. But neither Darby or Jungle Boy have ever main evented in AEW pay-per-view. Darby says tonight it's showtime. Backstage, security is ushering Adam Cole out of the arena. Jericho's there holding his face after he got his face knocked off, screaming at security to get him out. Britt Baker shows up. She decks Jericho, knocking Jericho down. She gets taken away by security. She caught a little bit of flack this week. She put out a shirt with the black eye that she got from the Outcast, which jumped her. People gave her shit about this online. To them, I say go fuck yourselves. I mean, she had her Titantron is her with a bloody face. They've had that as she's made it part of her ring gear. It's already been on merchandise. So I don't understand why her and a black eye given to her by 3 other women is an issue, whereas her getting all bloodied up by another woman and was not an issue. People were praising that street fight that she had with Thunder Rosa, you know, and no one gave a shit. And now this is happening. So for all you people who complained about it, I see right through you. You guys are pieces of shit. It's an awesome shirt. She looked awesome in the black eye, and yeah, and you guys could go fuck yourselves because we all know what you're about, you sons of bitches. What else could I say? The Blackpool Combat Club is backstage. Bryan Danielson says he's better than any wrestler in the world today. That's almost true, except his name isn't Johnny Gargano. He says, and if it isn't him, it's one of the men that stand beside him. He's with the Blackpool Combat Club, obviously consisting of Claudio Castagnoli, current Ring of Honor champion, Jon Moxley, and Wheeler Yuta. Danielson said he hopes that Wheeler is better than him someday. He says the Blackpool Combat Club is about bringing out the best in professional wrestlers, unlike the Elite. He said they bring the mic over to Mox. Mox says they're just blades searching for pieces of iron to sharpen each other. The Elite, they say that the Elite should thank them as higher levels equal bigger devils. I thought that was a kind of a cool line. Moxie talks about the steel cage match that is booked between him and Kenny Omega next week in Detroit on Dynamite. Said their feud in 2019 might as well have been a decade ago. This is a new Jon Moxley who's going to leave a mark on Omega. Saraya with Ruby Soho and Toni Storm, the Outcast, defeat Willow Nightingale. Saraya defeats Willow Nightingale. It was an okay match. The real pull came at the end when the Outcast jumped Willow. They start beating her down. Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker come out. They start laying the boots. What was this? Hold on. I think I'm getting the order wrong. So the Outcasts beat Nightingale. Hikaru Shida makes her return. She comes with a kendo stick. She looks like she's about to swing on him. She hesitates. She hugs the Outcast. She grabs the spray paint, is about to go and put the L on Willow until Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker hop out. They beat the shit out of all of them. Now the numbers advantage is gone. It's the returning former AEW Women's World Champion Hikaru Shida teaming up with former AEW Women's World Champions Britt Baker and current Women's Champion Jamie Hayter. So I guess this is going to end up being like a trios match at Double or Nothing. I feel like there needs to be an end to the storyline and hopefully an end to the Outcast so we could get some better storylines in that division. Please, God. The House of Black does a video segment saying that the trio's titles are tainted, so they are introducing the open house. Any 3 competitors could team up for a title shot, but under house rules, 20-second countouts, so not a 10 count, a 20 count. So just like New Japan, no rope breaks and DQs will be enforced. So it's very particular rules for the open house, and the open house rules. So we'll see who steps up to the plate. Anywho, the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass won the Tres de Mayo Trios Battle Royale. They eliminated the last team, which was Butcher, Blade, and Kip Sabian. I'm assuming this means that they're getting a title shot. Maybe that's the trios title match that's going to happen at Double or Nothing. They kind of didn't say what happens when you win the Battle Royal. They just said a Battle Royal was happening with trios teams. The other teams included the Lucha Bros, which is Penta El Cero Miedo and Rey Fenix, along with Vikingo, Kip Sabian, Butcher, and the Blade. Varsity Athletes and Ari Daivari, QTV, which consisted of Powerhouse Hobbs, QT Marshall, and Aaron Solo. The Acclaimed, Billy Gunn, and then the Dark Order, which was Evil Uno, Alex Reynolds, and John Silver. So that's how that ended, pretty much. It's going to be the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass, I'm assuming, getting a trios title shot. Renee Paquette is backstage with Sammy Guevara, who wasn't able to say anything before MGF shows up wearing the vest and that Sammy wears and his patented Burberry scarf. Guevara said he saw the footage from last week. That was the footage of MGF saying that there was no room in the car and didn't allow Sammy to ride with him out of the arena. So Guevara knows that there wasn't anyone in the car. MGF started fake crying. Said he had a bad back and he needed to lay down in all the seats and he didn't want to tell Sammy and sound like a wuss. Guevara smooched him on the forehead, said he should have never doubted MJF. They both hug and I would have to say it's a given that they each know that each other's full of shit. So I guess this is just MJF's way of eliminating all these challengers and instead of getting a 4-way, just having one guy. I don't know. Kenny Omega and Don Callis are backstage. They're discussing and promoting the cage match next week against Jon Moxley. Callis zoomed in, had the camera zoom in on the scar on his head that he got for real from the attack that he received from the Blackpool Combat Club. One of the lighting rigs hit Don square in the head, split his head right open. So he definitely had a legit scar. He says he has to look at that every day because of what Mox did to him. Everyday Callis remembers that Mox has the hardest hands in wrestling, but with Callis' brain and Omega's talent, Moxley will find out it's all going to come to an end. Omega said Moxley might make them both bleed in the cage, but everything comes to an end next week in Detroit. He's going to make it personal for what he did to the Bucks, Takeshita, and Don Callis. I don't know what's going to happen. I kind of want Omega to win, obviously. We all know that this is probably going to end in blood and guts once Hangman returns, and it'll just be a 4-on-4. So we'll see. TNT champion Wardlow defeats a jobber. Once he beats him, he calls out Christian Cage and Luchasaurus, asking for an open challenge. Christian Cage comes out, says Baltimore sucks, says that the title shot doesn't belong to Luchasaurus, it belongs to Christian Cage. Wardlow was a little bit caught off guard. I think he assumed that it was going to be Luchasaurus and him for the title, but it looks like it's Christian Cage that's laying down the gauntlet. Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, Jeff Jarrett, and Satnam Singh, they go to Mark Briscoe's farm in Sandy Fork. They wanted to help him on the farm as a sign of good faith. Obviously, this all ends up being, I guess, a way for these guys to figure out what the weaknesses are of FTR, because both Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett have beaten each individual members of FTR, so they are throwing down the gauntlet and challenging for the AEW World Tag Team titles at Double or Nothing. So obviously they're using their past friendship to try and see if they can get the inside track on FTR through Mark Briscoe. So that was pretty interesting. Ricky Starks defeated Juice Robinson. Great match. It looks like this is setting up for Jay White versus Ricky Starks at Double or Nothing, which would be fantastic. Juice Robinson is amazing. Ricky Starks is amazing. I'm glad Ricky's getting television time. I say this all the time. His storyline is and what's been going on with him and Bullet Club Gold is good. He's not fighting any chumps. Juice Robinson was a big name. Jay White is a big name. So him fighting these guys is nothing to sneer at. These are good, meaningful matches, storylines that he's getting on national television. So kudos to Ricky. Darby Allin and Jack Perry are trying to hype each other up in the locker room before the last match of the night. Allin heads off to the ring. MJF kind of gets in between, walks into the locker room after Darby's left, but before Jungle Boy's left, said he basically tells Jack Perry that if he betrays Darby Allin, he's going to offer him a spot to him next to the throne, since he's not world champion material. Jack Perry said he didn't want to be next to the throne. He wants the crown. Allin walks in. MJF leaves. Darby Allin asked what that was all about. Jack Perry told him not to worry. Try to do a fist bump for solidarity between him and Darby. Darby refused, not really believing him. Obviously, this is going to play into the fact that Darby doesn't really trust anybody but Sting. So MJF's trying to put cracks in that tag team, hopefully gaining an advantage in the main event. The tag team match, Jack Perry, Darby Allin defeat MJF and Sammy Guevara in what they are labeled as a 4 pillars tag match. Great match. It's gonna come. We all knew it was gonna be a 4-way. It was the best kind of booking that they could have done. I guess teasing us with a 1-on-1 and then kind of setting up a 4-way was a great way to kind of keep the storyline going. It's gonna be a great match. Obviously, these guys were holding back all the good stuff for that match. It's going to be a fucking fantastic match. It's for the best young talents that AEW has to offer, all in the main event spot, all for their time to shine. This is it. This is what AEW's future is going to look like. So this particular match I'm very interested in. It should be a banger of a match. AEW has a lot of very important booking to do. Another thing that I don't think I had mentioned last week is that All Out and All In are within 7 days of one another. So I don't know how you're going to be able to book all of these high-profile matches and make them all meaningful over the span of, the next several months. So this is going to be some crazy, crazy shit going on this summer. Big summer for pro wrestling. I'm excited. You should be excited. And I think that's it. I think I'm done. Appreciate the viewers in the chat. Appreciate you guys for watching. Next week we'll have the results of the Kenny Omega Jon Moxley cage match, and we'll have some more ticket results for All In at Wembley. General sale is May 5th, so the day after tomorrow. I appreciate you guys all for joining me tonight. And I will see you next week. Take care.